thing?
Sure.
Lynn, if you can tip your camera a little bit more down, the glare on my screen, because all I'm getting is the top of your head.
You're cruel, Larry.
Well,
How about the top of my head?
I got the same thing though.
I think it was better the other way, Larry.
Okay, I guess we'll call to order the meeting then. And I guess first up is approval of the minutes. Any recommendations, suggestions? Anyone?
Good.
We set
Good
up?
to me.
Deb, you okay with everything?
Wait a minute, can you hear me now? Okay, there was a question. I thought they were gonna have food trucks. I thought the minutes said they would invite food trucks.
What's that again, Lynn? Go ahead, repeat
My
that,
impression
please.
was they were going to have food trucks available as opposed to the situation with the restaurant. Obviously, I understand the gym, but my impression was they were going to have food trucks. And I guess the board agrees that they, just for clarity, it says they would invite food trucks.
Yeah. I thought that was the way I understood it. They were going to invite food trucks.
Good
That's
purpose.
line 281.
Right.
Yeah, Heather, if you would just double check the recording on that.
Okay, so
I
Ted-
had a comment, and maybe it's here and I'm not seeing it. We tried to make the point that the purpose of a community building was to provide public area where the residents can meet. And from the way they were talking about it in the meeting, all that was going to be in the community building were their offices. So I made a comment regarding the fact that they're supposed to provide public space. I may be missing it, but that's possible. With the glare off Lynn's forehead, I could have missed it.
Well, I'll try to get some ashes on there, but truly, I think they talked about opening up the garage. Maybe that was for the future, but where they stored the lawnmowers. There was a lot of discussion about that.
Yeah, and
Right,
to me it sounded weak.
Well,
That's why I brought it up.
Rocco said, we were talking about putting a table and some chairs that if somebody wanted to order a pizza, they could come in and enjoy the pizza as opposed to taking it to their apartment, as well as utilizing the machines. And he seemed to be agreeable to that. So are you saying we need that as part of the minutes?
If that's what other people heard, I think it would be what was agreed on.
Well, if it's not in the
As far-
minutes, then we don't have anything to refer back to.
Exactly.
Yeah, as far as the use of public space, to me, that's the purpose of a community center. And he didn't mention any of that you just talked about until I said, hey, what about the community meeting space that's supposed to be provided?
And I guess if it's a food situation, people can get it out of the machines, but somehow I was under the impression there'd be an overhang or a hookup for a food truck, and there would be a food truck there, but I understand there's probably issues with that and not much business, so.
Well,
Well, sometimes you can bring a food truck in for just a couple of hours. Like if they advertise that, hey, Friday night, we're gonna have a food truck here from, 5 to 7. I mean, that's probably how they would do it.
Well, the original is to have a restaurant, right? And then
Right.
we've had to, obviously there's a COVID situation, but long before this, we've kind of put that on the back burner. I realize there's a huge expense with that, and they're in a tight spot right now, but there's, they got a lot of special business to expand and do what they're doing with Village Solars. And I think we've really, catered to their whims. So,
Well, and did they say they're not gonna have a kitchen or not hookups for a kitchen?
Correct.
As a matter of fact, that was the way I understood his comments. Because of the expense and because of the fact that we're deep in COVID and don't know when we're going to come out of it, the expense of building a kitchen area was just too much for them right now. And again, that goes back to what I said. If you have a community building, that usually infers that there'll be a kitchen. I mean, our community building in the town of Lansing has a kitchen.
Well, I
Not
mean,
much
if
of
they're,
one.
right, but if they're putting in bathrooms in there, I think that's what they said, then it would be pretty easy to put in some water for a hookup for a water for a kitchen sink. I mean, if a stove could be wired in as electric, it doesn't mean they have to have it, but they maybe should build the infrastructure for it.
I think that's where Dean was.
Right. The discussion that we had when I was asking them about adding infrastructure for drainage and supply for a kitchen, they said that they could run that in this current covered shed area and be able to bring it up into, common wall with the existing area, or just leave it in that additional area that they could finish later, and that it was not necessary for them to try to rough in utilities now in anticipation of who knows what, because they don't have a tenant for kitchen space, and I think they don't want to guess on what they're going to need.
Yeah, but if it's right outside if it's right on the same wall and they could easily bring it in, that would be okay with me.
Well, there's
CJ,
also-
where are we at on this? We need to revise this to include the agreement that there would be some covered space, table, chairs as part of the agreement.
I think we should make sure that it's in the minutes that was discussed. I don't think that we should necessarily be satisfied with just that, because we have, more to review on this. Something that I think that we should not only pay attention to what we've got now for it, but have a thought about it and say, what's really going to work? I mean, they can do an awful lot. That place isn't even in the ground yet. They can put in an awful lot of drains and an awful lot of water lines and an awful lot of electrical hookups, even putting in a separate panel box for possible future use. But the important thing to me is that they have a space that's available for the residents to have for a meeting space or a get-together space.
So it sounded to me like the meeting space was going to be completed, that they would have the machines in there, and that they would have accessible bathrooms in that area.
Yeah, but that all came up after I first asked the question. I get the impression that wasn't on the radar until we brought it up.
I would just say, well, let's get the minutes updated. Heather will go back and take a look and make sure we've captured the conversation completely. I think I did send the plans for the community center building, but it was a while back. So let me resend those to you again, just so you have them fresh to see what they're intending. But my understanding is they do have building permits or a building permit for that building to be constructed already.
I thought that
Okay,
that community.
So what do we
center
want to do on the
framed up.
minutes? We're going to table the minutes until next meeting.
That's
Is that all right?
I think,
CJ?
yeah, I
yes.
think
Oh, of course.
we've come a long way from where we started 7 or 8 years ago, where it seems we keep backing up.
Okay, so let's, as far as the minutes are concerned, let's put that off until our next meeting and table that. Okay?
Move that we have to, yeah.
CJ, anything else we need to do?
Not for that action, no. And I'll follow up with Heather.
Okay, so I guess next on the agenda is the privilege of the floor. CJ, anyone out there?
Nope, no one for privilege of the floor. Well, actually, hold on. I've got Mike Sigler. Hold on just a moment.
Okay. Hi, Mike.
Greetings.
And CJ, could you just touch base briefly on the conversation that you had with the town board regarding the solar? Just highlight it just real quickly.
Sure thing. And Doug may also be able to provide additional insight as well. But in any event, I know that the planning board is working through proposed amendments to the local law. And so to that end, I asked the town board about the schedule for adopting those proposed amendments to try to get an understanding from them. Essentially a policy directive, where do they see this going? Do they want to adopt these amendments? And it was more of a question of, I was just really concerned about the planning board putting in a lot of time on, and, of course, our department putting in a lot of time on review, circulation, coordinating meetings, of course, and advancing it through the entire schedule of adoption. If we were just going to get to town board and they were going to say, well, this is nice, thank you so much for all this work, but we're not planning on making any changes. So it was really an effort to kind of understand where they stood and what they wanted to see as far as a policy directive to say, do you want the planning board to look at specific things, or, what's your kind of thinking on this? And so I think the Lansing Star recap was, fairly succinct. I don't know if it captured the entire conversation, which is why I emailed you all the link of the actual discussion, because I wanted you to see really what town board said themselves, rather than trying to extrapolate any of that. So anyway, I don't know if that helps, but.
Yes. And Dean, where are you at with those revisions?
I've started inputting them and about halfway through. I was hoping to have it done before the meeting tonight, but I'll definitely have it done tomorrow.
Okay. Mike, did you have any questions?
No, again, I just wanted to really thank you guys for doing, to me, you guys have done most of the work already. Dean's coming up with the recommendations, and I really hope you guys move those forward so that the town board at least has something to look at, to me, to say, well, I've talked to other members of the town board. I was kind of surprised that that's what they said, because, from all the town board members I've talked to, both Republican and Democrat, they were like, well, if it comes out of the planning board, we'll take a look at it. That's your first step, is the planning board. And that's why I came to you guys. And frankly, you've done a lot of the heavy lifting already. So we're pretty close. So I just want to thank you for that. And frankly, I went far out with 1,000 feet. I was glad you guys came back and said, no, man, we're not doing 1,000 feet. That's too much. And you got it all the way, you got it down to like 200, 250 feet, wherever that is. And okay, hey, you know what? That's great. Thanks for doing the work on that. And I did want you to know that I did go looking for a gong today, and I couldn't find one at a store, but I did find an app that has one. So there you go. There is actually a gong app, so I know that when to stop talking, so I'll stop talking.
Okay. I think
Well
we
played,
just
Michael.
touched base on. We've just touched base on that, and I think we're okay with that right now. So we'll have more details as Dean finishes up, and maybe Doug might want to expand a little bit as well when we do the liaison report. But anyways, privilege of the floor, CJ, I guess that's it.
Yes.
Okay.
No one else is waiting.
Okay, so let's move on to Doug. Doug, all set?
I am.
Great.
I am. Do you want me to knock that out first, or
Your call.
I guess our discussion, as I can try to recall, and which is hard anymore, but was basically based on what CJ had said as far as the ORS meeting and things of that nature, And CJ, please step in if I say something that's not true or out of place. But CJ, you mentioned, I think, that we had a little bit of time to work through what the planning board provides, I guess, as far as a amendment to the law and of things of that nature. And so I think I remember April was a date or a time frame or something of that nature. So with regard to that, hey, whatever we come up with, I have no problem. The problem, I guess, that I got a little bit of tenor from the board, other members, was that, there's not one size fits all, I guess, is the first one. 250 feet on one property may be easy to attain, but 250 feet on another property, depending on what the parameters are of that, it may not even fit. So, and I guess that was back to 1,000-foot number, I guess, as I remember. And also that, what do the farmers do? There are farmers out there that are willing to lease their land. And basically, if it doesn't fit in any of the parameters that the planning board puts forth, then how does that work with these other people that own land and have been approached and possibly signed leases and things of that? And this brings me back to the several, probably 4 or 5 people that contacted me back with fracking, back in my early days on the town board. These people are ready to go and willing to sign a lease because they're either not making money on the farm or they're not making money on their property and they're hurting. I don't know. But that would be my the tenor I got from the board on that, at least in my mind, was that, are we trying to tell people what to do with their land? And that bothers me a little bit in all regards. So that's my own personal view on that.
Yeah. And I don't think the planning board as a whole is saying no to it or what you can do with it. We're just looking out for the neighbors and trying to protect the neighbors' interest as well as the farmer's interest.
Understood. That's not even a thought. Yeah, actually, I think that's your core value, core root thing you want to do, for lack of a better word at this point. So I agree with that as well. I'm just saying, a lot of farmers are having trouble now, and whether, and that was the case 6 or 7 years ago as well in the fracking case. But that's kind of what it came up with. And like I said, there is some time to do this and do this right, I believe. And I'm sure CJ can, I'm sure CJ can will give us a timeline on that subject.
Larry, you had a quick question?
I just wanted to clarify something very briefly. The reason that the planning board was going away from the 1,000-foot setback and more down towards 100 or 200 feet, depending on what the circumstances were, was because we recognized the fact that the 1,000-foot setback was an untenable restraint to put on the farmers. And several members of the ag community that I spoke with wanted to see the reduction from 1,000 or 500 feet down to something more reasonable, 100 or 200. For the very reasons that were pointed out in the meeting here, where CJ had the map up and it was pointed out to us, the 1,000-foot setback pretty much wipes out a pretty good sized field when you're trying to put together 1,200 acres of clear ground. So that's why we reduced the setback.
Understood.
We're looking to make it possible for as many people as want to can make it fit their situation. Just a
Understood,
clarification.
understood.
The other
But
part is.
as with the media now, as everyone knows, someone hears 1,000 feet and automatically that's written in stone or etched in stone or chiseled in stone or whatever you want to do. So sandblasted, whatever. So I guess that's the number that's stuck in people's heads. And I heard it from 3 different people. So
This Oris is just a reaction to it. And yeah, 1,000's ridiculous. Different areas, 100 might be fine. Everything's different. And I'm in a situation of talking to these people, not ready to do anything, but looking at it. And yeah, and the state's going to decide. I think people just wanted a boundary for the state to look at and react to. I mean, they're in charge of these large scale situations. It's not really the town saying much.
no, but I think as Mike points out, they're listening somewhat. Whether or not they take heed to that, who knows? But yeah, I agree with that. That was a good statement.
Okay, Doug, anything else you want to talk about from the meeting?
You want me to go over the town board, what we did the other night, or
Sure,
real quick? Go through everything, privilege of the floor. John Howell came on, and I don't know if it was for him, a privilege of the floor. I think he could have had an agenda item with it, but basically asking for a temporary court clerk for a case he has right now, and we were able to get that passed for him. Moving on, all their budget report, board member reports, which is in the minutes or in our packet. Our consent agenda, we had 9, 10 items on it. Motion authorizing supervisor to sign an agreement between Town of Lansing and Food Net Meals on Wheels. A motion to approve carrying forward vacation time exceeding 40 hours. A resolution authorizing acceptance of bid issuance of notice of award and contract to Cuga Commercial Cleaning for the Town Hall, community building and custodial services. Resolution hiring full-time information aide for the supervisor's office and part-time information aide for the town clerk's office. A resolution approving the Town of Lansing Conservation Advisory Council 2020 annual report. A resolution appointing members of the Town of Lansing Conservation Advisory Council, and a resolution appointing Sandra Dennis Conlon and Thomas Butler and Dale Baker to the Town of Lansing Planning Board. And then item 14, resolution accepting Melanie Malone's resignation from the Town of Lansing Zoning Board of Appeals and reappointing Mary Stowe and Richard Hayes and appointing Jack Young to the Zoning Board of Appeals. We had a resolution approving the audit and budget modifications and the supervisor's report. And some other discussion. That was about it.
Okay, great. Thank you, Doug.
Sure.
Questions, anyone?
Thank you.
Okay, great. Let's move on. Let's see. I guess CJ, we're up next. The Britton Woods major subdivision. What are we doing with that tonight?
Yep, the proposed resolution before you is for final major subdivision plat approval, and I have the applicant here if you'd like to admit them. Yeah, okay.
Hey, Tim.
You're
CJ,
muted.
questions answered?
You're muted, Tim.
Okay, here we go.
All right,
Sorry,
Tim.
what was that, Larry?
How are you guys?
Good.
Okay, thank you.
We have all the questions answered now, right?
Yep.
So,
Yes, we have all the materials save for the things, of course, that can be submitted after final plat approval, which are listed in the resolution.
so where are we at right now, CJ, with this? Any questions for Tim? Tim, any questions for us?
No, I think we've asked everything, answered everything that was asked, so hopefully.
Larry, what do you have?
If it would be appropriate, I'd like to make a motion to adopt the resolution.
Okay, second.
Can I ask a question? Because my resolution says conditional approval.
Yeah.
Why is it? Why is it?
Yep, so that's just conditional upon compliance with the conditions that are listed in the resolution.
Okay, if
So
we,
like-
I guess I
like the
haven't
health
seen that
department approval?
before.
You know, it's a health department approval, the county road permit, a lot of different things that have to
Okay.
Yeah,
be satisfied, so.
Okay, so Larry made a motion. Do we have a second?
Lynn?
I'm sorry, what was it, Lynn?
Yeah.
Okay, and Heather, do you have to take a call on this?
Yes, we do.
Okay,
Sandy,
Yes.
Lynn,
Yes?
Al,
yes.
Larry,
yes.
Dean,
Yes.
Deb,
You're muted, Deb.
Deb,
There she
Yes.
goes.
thank you, and Dale.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
okay, I guess we're
Wow.
set, CJ, on this?
Thank you very much, folks. That was good. I really appreciate it.
Happy New Year.
You too,
Merry
and Merry Christmas and all that.
Okay.
Good.
Be safe.
Thanks.
Night.
Appreciate it. Good night now.
Okay, all right, that was quick.
Yay.
I like
All
that.
right,
Reason not
second
to be-
up. Livestock, 416 Asbury Road. Dean
Yeah.
Shea. Dean, you want to talk about this a little bit?
Sure. So we bought our property in 1985, and the current owners at that time had 6 to 8 horses on the property. And when you look at the map, when the survey was done at that time, it shows existing fence lines. We have fairly shallow depth to bedrock and fairly rocky soil here. So over time, the horses beat the fence up pretty bad, and 99% of it has been taken down. We did have horses on the property till probably, maybe 2006, 2008, somewhere in there. Property was fallow pretty much until about 3 years ago. I took down the 10-foot honeysuckle, and when zoning came along, someone in their infinite wisdom decided that they should split our small 10, almost 11-acre parcel into 2 different zones. So the southwest corner at the corner of Asbury and Collins Road was zoned as R1, and the rest is zoned R3. We plan to put in some pasture for cows. Plan to have 4 or 5 cows that would be grass fed. We obviously have a barn in the back. We have room for a pasture in the northeast corner that would meet the requirements to the neighbors. That's a non-ag neighbor that's 2 lots over. Have room for pasturage on the west side of the barn from the north boundary all the way to the south with the appropriate setbacks. And then a large 200-foot setback from the center line of the road to the residential properties across the street to the west. The surrounding property around us used to be the Moses property, and that was sold last year. It's a mix of second growth woods, some kind of swampy areas, and it also has some existing ag fields. There's one small cornfield in the back. And then on the east side of that property, there's a large field that's been planted in soybeans or corn and currently has been seeded to grass.
CJ, what's the oversight for the planning board on this now?
Yeah, that's a good question. So this use is subject not only to site plan, but special permitting. And so similar to the Savage Club, the recent project there, you'd make a recommendation to the town board essentially about whether you saw this to be meeting the conditions of special permitting, which I believe I've articulated in the agenda item. So it requires health department compliance, I would say, is the major criteria for which Dean did forward the correspondence from Tompkins County Health Department saying they had reviewed it and were comfortable with it.
So what do we need to do as a planning board now?
You just make a motion. You feel comfortable with the application as currently presented. If you don't need any further information to be able to make that recommendation, you would simply make a motion to recommend the project to that the town board it grants or authorize the issuance of a special permit for this particular use for this.
Okay. Any board members? Larry, you have a question? Anyone else?
What's the approximate percentage of the lot that's in R1? It looks to be less than 25%. Is that correct?
Yeah,
Dean?
it's about 300.
Dean?
It's about 300 feet along the south boundary, and it's about 220 feet on the west boundary. So that would be the dimensions, approximately 220 feet by 300 feet for the R1 in the corner. And we can encroach within 50 feet of that for our fence line.
Larry, what's your point there? Larry?
I think Larry's frozen.
Lawyer's frozen, yeah. I got a question. Does the
Sure,
ZBA,
Dale?
does the ZBA have to react to this or not as a use variance?
No, it's not
no.
a use variance, it's a special.
They don't, huh? Okay.
I think the majority of this, I don't know, is the R3 does permit this.
With special
Yeah, and
permit.
if you'd like, it's kind of an interesting visual that Dean was representing. If you'd like, I could just do a quick share to show kind of the boundary. It's
I think the bulk of we have a convention, don't we? The bulk of the property is suitable. You don't have to worry about the zoning and the other piece.
there is a condition that allows you to extend the use. I can't remember how many feet. I think it's 50. I'd have to go back to the land use ordinance and look, but to that,
Yeah.
to that end, let me just show you real quick. So this is the property. And we did a quick measurement on GIS to show how far, like Lynn is saying, how far that little piece right there that's going into the corner of the property, it demarcates essentially that 50 feet. So, and then you could see the rest of the property is R3.
I mean, I'm all for going ahead with a motion. Now, is this special permit for ag? Is it ever 2-year permit? Is it renewable? Is it?
It's a good question. I think that they're authorized for a year, but let me double check while you're talking.
Any other questions, board
Well,
members?
Larry had one, but I think he's trying to come back on because he was frozen. CJ, can you see Larry? No,
Where's Larry?
No, I don't see him.
he was frozen, so he got off, and I thought maybe he tried to get back on. But
It'll pop
CJ
back up
Yeah,
when he's.
CJ has to admit him. So Dean, you're having beef cows, is that?
Yeah, they're right now temporarily up the street over the town line.
I used to buy equipment like that, Dean. I wouldn't show my wife for about a month.
Sounds like it's bootlegged or something.
What do you got, Dean? Are these Herefords? What do you got?
No,
Angus?
these would be Angus cross.
Angus? Yeah.
And they're not mine. They're my daughter Rebecca's.
Okay.
You still get to chase them when they get out, though, I bet.
Yeah, but I'll get to eat them too. So.
Yeah.
Is your daughter gonna let you eat them?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
All right. They're not pets
His
then.
name's Steaky and the other one's Berg.
We used to have
Oh,
her older daughter had rabbits in the barn when she was in high school and junior high. We had 60 rabbits at one point. And
Wow.
yeah,
All you need to start is two.
I said no rabbits unless we're going to be eating them. So
Yeah, my dad did that to me. Now, it'd be nice not to have to do this permit every 2 years, especially when you sink money in the fence.
Yeah, to
Soil and
answer,
Water to build it for you.
so to answer Lynn's question, special use permits expire if the use is not substantially implemented. So as long as you
that's
get
what I
that up
thought.
and
I
going
thought it
within
was
a year.
perpetuity as long as we keep the use up.
Good.
You
Great.
got it. And the 3 conditions for farming livestock are the Board of Health approving the disposal of animal waste, which a letter was submitted to that effect. No outdoor storage of refuse or feed, and penning areas being located at least 200 feet from property line of an existing non-farm residence. So, and I believe applicant submitted documentation to that effect.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess Larry's still out there, so.
All right, hold
Lynn's
on. Here's Larry.
recommendation. Oh, here he goes.
Wait, he goes out for a beer and then comes back?
Let's wait a second, see what Larry's point was about the small R1 area.
Yeah, it's the next thing on my agenda is to go to the town board and get them to remove that so we can have all of our parcels R3.
Yeah.
I think
There
maybe
he is.
former
Welcome.
staff member maybe push that at some point. I don't know.
Larry, what was your point? Larry?
You're muted.
you're muted.
Unmute.
There we go.
My point was that it appears that less than 25% of the property is in R1, and as a practice, it is appropriate for the land use that holds for the majority of the property can be applied to the whole property. So I've got no problem with recommending to the town board that it should be done.
Okay, so Lynn and Larry both made recommendations. Any other board members, any comments?
I recommend it as well.
Mhm.
So do we need to take a call on this, CJ?
You're muted.
If you could just do a motion recommending the
Motion
application.
recommending it from Lynn.
Second.
Second from Larry.
So Lynn made a motion and Deb seconded, I guess. So Heather, you want to take a call?
Sure. Okay, Sandy,
Yes.
Lynn,
Yes.
Al,
Yes.
Larry,
Yes.
Dean.
I would have to abstain.
Oh, sorry. Deb
Yeah.
and Dale.
Yes.
All right.
Okay, CJ, we're all set on this then for now?
Yep, they'll go to town board on January 20th, presuming the town board authorizes granting the special use permit. They'll be back to see us on January, I think, 25th for final
Okay.
preliminary final approval, I would assume.
Okay, great. Thanks, everyone. Next up, I guess, is going to be the Lansing propane. Where are we at on this, CJ?
Yeah, so today I did ask the project engineer if they'd like to come and give a project update. We're obviously trying to coordinate the new project with the new fire chief, Brad George, and we'll have that help of the outgoing fire chief, Scott Purcell, to help us review the project. But they did pass on an email saying they weren't going to be here tonight, but they did send an update. So if you have questions about that, just let me know and I'll correspond with them.
Okay, any questions, board members?
No,
Anyone? Okay, I guess we can wrap that one up, CJ, then, for now. And then let's go on to number 8 then. Dollar General, where are we at on that, CJ?
Yeah, so we received, after the planning board mailing went out, we did receive 2 elevation drawings in PDF that we forwarded on to the board to take a look at. And I believe the applicant is here to discuss those tonight. So if you'd like to hear from them, we can admit them to the room.
CJ, before you bring them in, can you tell us what our timeline is on this project?
That's a good question. It really, in some parts, depends on the applicants and depends on you. If you're satisfied with the updated drawings and updated site plan, then you could issue a preliminary site plan approval to help iron out some of the finer details. Of course, you could also wait to hear more. My guess is there might be some comments from DOT coming, since it's obviously a state, will be located on a state highway. They may have specific comments. They were fine with the planning board being lead agency, but they may have comments they'd like to share as part of the DOT permit. And then also they need to receive documentation from the business energy advisors. So Tompkins County Planning, as part of the 239 review process, does include energy efficiency as part of their review. So they'll need to submit documentation, and it's especially important, obviously, because Lansing is in the natural gas moratorium area, and so they'll have to show how they're going to plan to heat and cool the building. So I anticipate once the planning board feels comfortable with the aesthetics and site plan, that we'd make the referral to the county, and then 30 days after that, we'd head towards either preliminary and final approval or just preliminary approval until the planning
Okay,
board.
So yeah,
Deb, do you have a question? Deb?
Yeah, I don't
Sorry,
remember
Larry, did
seeing a new site plan. There was the original one that I have, but I haven't run into a new one. And they've talked about changing the entrance for the trucks.
Okay. And Larry, real quick, what do you have?
yeah, I thank you, Heather. I did get the elevations that you sent. Just as a word, they have stated that they will not move the entry from the front to the side. I would like to point out that we've all seen Dollar Generals where they put the entry on the front corner, which would allow the parking to go down the side. And their nod towards a different profile for the road-facing face of the building is just a bare little gable, and it's not anything at all like 4 others that I'm looking at here on my other computer screen for visuals of a varieties of Dollar General storefronts. So I'm still not satisfied with what they're providing personally, and I'm willing to tell them so myself, but I wanted to give the board my reasons for saying so.
So before we bring them in, CJ, I just wanted to clarify what I'm driving at is, do we have a deadline where we have to make a decision before this is automatically approved, because we don't want to go there?
That's a great question. So unlike subdivision, say, that has default approval timelines, there are no default approval timelines in site plan.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions, board members? Okay, look, well, CJ, why don't you allow them in and we'll hear from them and go from there.
CJ, could you bring up the document, the PDF, when the time comes, we can look at it?
Yeah.
Sure.
good idea.
Which of the site plan itself, or of the drawings? The applicant.
The applicant's drawing, yeah.
Yeah, the drawings, please.
Yeah, and I imagine they might have be willing to
Maybe
screen share as well.
Just, yeah.
Okay. Hi.
Hey there.
Hi, Bob. Can you hear us?
All right, Bob, you there?
Yes, I am here.
The floor is yours, so to speak.
All right, sir. So I heard a little bit of that, I guess we should start with the architecture first. It sounds like that you are not happy with option 1 or option 2. Is that correct?
Yes.
Have all board members seen the 2 options?
Yes.
Yeah.
Everyone has seen those?
Mhm.
Okay. Sorry,
So-
go ahead, Bob.
So would you mind giving me a little bit of direction as to where you would like this to go?
Larry, I think, why don't you take the floor on this one?
Sure thing. The general idea, there goes my screen again.
I can see you.
Okay, well, I'll keep talking. The general idea was to present the building itself closer to the road, put the parking and access on the side. Now, your representative the last time said that the side entrance was really hard for you to justify to your clients, to your customers. And I have seen a compromise where the corner is your entryway, and that would accommodate parking on the side, and you could still move the building towards the front, giving you even more room in the rear for your delivery truck turnarounds, etc. So I think that there's a way that this can be done. In addition, on another set of examples of Dollar General storefronts that we've accessed, I sent the URL to CJ just a couple of seconds ago. There are gable end fronts that look like they're not a mistake made with the tin shears, which is what your peaked option looked like to me on the drawings. You know, forgive me. I've been in construction for 56 years, and it looked kind of lame to me. So,
Bob, is there anything you can do to?
That's where I am, and I think if the rest of the people might also have some ideas.
Bob, there's a dollar. We have an existing dollar store in Lansing now, and I
Yes,
think
sir.
majority of the board members feel that it's kind of plain. There is a new dollar store up in on Route 13 in Dryden that I think the feedback has been that it's somewhat attractive to the community. So they were hoping for something closer to the new dollar store in Dryden as opposed to the dollar store that's in Lansing. And I think your proposals right now are closer to the existing Lansing store than maybe to the dollar store in Dryden. Am I okay with that, board members?
Yes.
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 PJ, do you happen to have a picture of that you can put on the screen? If not, I can dig it up. If not, I
Sure
don't
thing.
have-
Yeah, and I just sent it around also to in the chat window. But hold on just a moment here, and we'll.
And while you're doing that, could you clarify? Oh my gosh. While you're throwing that up on the screen, could you clarify one thing for me? I'm looking through your ordinance. I don't see an ordinance that requires the building to be pushed up to the front of the site. Did I miss something there?
You mean in terms of where the building can be located? Or
Yeah,
what the disposition of the building is on the lot?
The location of the building on the lot. The only thing that we found in your ordinance was there was an 80-foot setback on the front. Did I miss something?
Yes, you should refer to our comprehensive plan for a lot of the ideals of what we're looking for. The planning board participated in that comprehensive plan review before sending it off to the town board.
Okay, so that is in the books at this point? The comprehensive plan?
Yeah, the comprehensive plan has been accepted and it's in place.
Understood.
What
Okay.
What the theory is to use current best planning practices as far as access, reverse frontage, and making a commercial operation look better and fit better with a residential area or with an area that's not necessarily commercially centered.
Okay, so basically I can't get any closer than 80 feet to the center line of the road, but is there a maximum that I can be away from that road, or is it just a minimum? And I'll
No
look through-
maximums. There's no
There are-
maximum setback.
There are no maximums. So a minimum of 80 feet is as close as I can get the building to the front of the site. But
Which
you
would
want-
give you 50 feet from the road edge, basically,
Yes,
to the
sir.
front of the building. And that would allow you more room in back, and that would allow the placement of both truck access to the rear and parking for the building itself on the south side.
And we've actually looked at a couple of scenarios for doing that. The reason that we're having a little bit of trouble with it is because of the grades on site, the natural grades. The detention facility is going to go on the south side, which is the same side of the building that you want the parking to be on. So we're trying to work out those details as far as how large that detention pond is going to have to be and whether we have actual room to put all the parking on the side of the building. As far as a corner entry for the store, yes, that's something that we can do. We have done that in the past. That is the least preferred layout for the retailer, but they do have an option for that. We would prefer not to do that. They would prefer to have the entrance facing the road with the parking, majority of the parking on the front of the building. I understand that your comprehensive plan says we can't do that, so we will go back and work up another sketch plan and see if we can appease the board at the next meeting. As far as the exterior elevation requirements, there again, we did not find anything where there was a requirement for exterior elevation upgrades. I understand that it is a request from the planning board, and we will do everything we can to meet your request. But obviously there's a line there that we can get up to, but we can't cross, or the project just doesn't work for us.
Sure, we understand that, Bob, but I think you understand where we're coming from. There is a little more you probably can do as far as aesthetics on the outside. It's really not going to add substantially to the overall cost. So maybe you could take another look. If board members have any other drawings or other sample dollar stores you want to submit to CJ, and maybe CJ can forward that to you, Bob.
That would be fine.
Ideas?
That would be fine. Let me ask you if I could get a little bit more clarification on the exteriors. Whenever we're talking about upgrades, we're talking about the front of the building and the parking lot side of the building only. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so the other two sides of the building, we can do the prototype building, but my understanding is you're also looking for some vegetative screening on the north side of the building. Is that correct?
Yes. There's a
Dean,
neighbor
Dean, you
directly
were
to the
working on
north.
that.
There's
Dean?
there's a neighbor directly to the north.
Yes.
And right now, the only landscaping other than watered grass is 12 spirea around the sign.
Correct.
So we're looking for more vegetation than 12 spirea.
So what we're planning to do, I'm not sure if you noticed it on the plan or not, but we do typically put a 6-foot tall stockade fence around the building. And we are showing that on the north, the west, and the south property lines. Do you want a combination of a fence and vegetation, or would you rather have 100% vegetation as a screen? What's going to get me over the finish line on this?
Well, I think Sandy had some ideas on that, but I was thinking myself that this is not like the Dryden or the Groton store. So Groton, you're right downtown. It's all asphalt around it. The
Yes, sir.
Route 13 on Dryden store has a little bit of greenery in the front as far as grass and a ditch. But other than that, everything along that corridor is all just grass and pavement. Here, I think that we're potentially looking for something other than just grass along the front. So some other types of plantings and vegetation to again, make this place look like something.
And that actually is not an issue for us at all. More landscaping is not a big deal. We can do that fairly extensively. I mean, we can put lower bushes. We obviously don't want to put any big trees in front of the building to
No,
block it from the
I agree
road.
with that. I don't have
Sure.
a problem with that, but we're looking for something other than watered grass there.
Understood, understood. And correct me again, if you would. I'm showing that you do have landscaping requirements or you do not. Do you have actually ordinances for landscaping requirements that kind of give me a direction as to which way I'm going here?
We don't have current, as far as I know, requirements in place. We
Okay.
are just finishing up an audit on our land use and are moving into the phase of redoing our land use ordinance.
Understood.
But-
So as
Yeah, the priority before was we asked for plantings and kind of left it up to the developer. Now we're trying to work a little closer with the developer to wind up with a product that will put money in your pocket by making it attractive to customers. And it'll keep us, keep the residents in the area happy as well.
CJ, is this part of the scenic trail?
No, I don't believe this route is on the scenic byway, but I do just want to point to, so section 270-27 is site plan review, and subsection 9 is trees and shrubs, which dictates that the planning board can determine the adequacy, type, and arrangement of trees, scrubs, and other landscaping, including where practical, focus on the maximum retention of existing vegetation and considerations of visual and noise deterring buffers between the proposed use and adjoining uses or properties. And then, as Larry was mentioning, a goal land use 1-1C is the guide developments, and the short of the long is controlling commercial development by encouraging reverse frontage practices. So that's on page 70-71 of the comprehensive plan as well, which is reflected in the site plan regulations.
So the emphasis was protection, or not protection, but screening to the neighbors. So we have that question. Are board members okay with the stockade fence? Would they rather see screenings, live screenings, or a combination of the two?
Sandy?
CJ, do you have a plan that shows the stockade fence that you could put up on share?
Oh,
It actually,
hold on.
that stockade fence, what we're proposing is it starts at that 80-foot setback line. And
Okay.
it runs on the entire property back to the 80-foot setback line on the south side.
I would think that'd be adequate, board members.
Sandy?
Now,
I think
Well,
it's, I
the
think
neighbor, the closest neighbor, I think is to the north, right? They requested a fence so they don't see the building. I don't know how big that fence is, but that's the fence that they requested.
the one that we are proposing is 6 feet tall.
Okay. I think that's adequate.
I
that
think
would
that
certainly break up the view, yes.
Yeah.
What I can offer up is potentially pull that fence off of the property line, 10 feet, 12 feet, somewhere in that range, and put some trees down that northern property line in front, between the fence and our property line.
That would be.
Oh, so you're offering both the
Wonderful.
trees and the fence?
On the north side, sure, I can do that.
Oh, great. I mean, that's
Yeah.
super.
We're sounding better all the time.
Yeah, that would really be good.
Good.
I am here to make you happy. Everything that I can do, I will do. My job is to get you to give me the thumbs up so we can move to the next spot.
So,
So I'm going to do everything in my power in the budget to get this to where you guys want it to be. I'm not, please don't take it as I'm trying to push back on you. I just need the more clarification that I have, the less times I have to come back with a plan that you don't like.
So we're going to want to see your planting schedule on the site plan.
Understood, understood.
What's,
May I just ask, Bob, do I have the most current site plan? Oh, sorry, Dean. I didn't mean to talk over you.
I'm not sure. I think you do. I believe Steve sent that to you, was it last week, Wednesday, Thursday of last week? I'm sorry.
I didn't receive an updated site plan, just elevation drawings. I think the most recent site plan or site rendering drawing I have is from 8/12. Does that sound right?
That sounds old.
Wow.
That's the only
Actually,
one we got.
the original date was 8/12 is whenever we first did it, but we've been making modifications to it since then. You have the colored rendering, is that correct? The site plan?
Yes, we do have that, and but I don't think I've received any updated submittals. But if we could just verify real quick, I think that this is the most updated version as far as I know. It's the C301.
Yes, I believe that. Yes, I believe that is it. That does
Okay.
look like, okay. Yes, that looks like the one.
Okay, so we'll be receiving prior to the next meeting an updated C301 drawing.
I will send you another colored rendering like this before the next meeting. We'll have I'll pull the fence off that north line. We'll put some trees down that north property line, probably right in the area where the building is sitting. I'm not proposing to put trees from one end of that property line to the other.
That's fine.
It looks like close to 400 feet there, what we're talking about. But the building itself is 130 feet long on that side. And I can certainly take up that distance with some plantings between the fence and the property line.
So Bob, the other members of the board can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that we're looking for things like the neighboring property has some deciduous trees there. So we'd probably be looking at doing some conifers, potentially something like white spruce.
It looks like they have maples actually there close to the property.
Exactly. Yes. So we'd be looking at probably having you think about interspersing some conifers like white spruce there that would be fairly deer resistant. And we definitely are not thinking about, 2 or 3 foot trees. We're thinking about 5 or 6 foot high trees.
And I was thinking 6 foot at time of planting.
That would be good.
Great, great.
On the east side there, on the street side, whatever you put in, we'd potentially be looking for something that has some winter interest to it. So
evergreen.
Well, no, if you're putting shrubs in, yes, you could potentially put in some evergreens, maybe dogwoods or something that would have color in the winter time.
Bob, is there overhead power lines along that frontage?
Yes.
So you might want to check with NICEAG on what they allow under the power lines as far as ornamentals.
I don't plan to push the parking lot all the way up to the property line, and the overhead line is running almost exactly on the property line. So I'll be a distance away from that overhead line. But yes, we will check in with them and make sure that we're not interfering with anything that they're doing.
Okay, great. So board members, any other recommendations or requests that you'd like to alert Bob to?
I think
Sandy, Deb?
Well, I was just thinking the color of the building, like when the 2 renderings, when I saw the yellow, I was immediately like, no. So I think that makes a difference when you're looking at the aesthetics. We don't want anything that's bright, bold, sticks out. The gray, I thought the gray color was nice with the stone kind of on the bottom. I thought that was a good color palette.
Could I ask just a couple more clarification questions regarding the exteriors? So are there any materials that you prohibit? Do you have issues with hardy siding, a cementitious horizontal siding? Do you have issues with, do you guys know what nichiha is? It's a cementitious panel, but it's patterned. You can get it to look like brick or stone or block or various different materials, but it is a cementitious board. Maintenance free, lasts forever, but it gives you a look of different materials. Is that something that you would allow, or are you guys against that?
Bob, I don't think we have a problem with that as long as you've got an experienced contractor putting it up that follows the directions.
I mean, we put that on just
about a lot of fiber cement blow up because people don't know how to, flash it properly, don't know how to, prime their cuts, that kind of thing.
Understood. Yeah, our contractors are very versed in it. We use it on just about every project. So, and I can submit some samples of that stuff if you guys are interested, once we get to a point to where everybody agrees on what we're doing to the exterior. One other clarification is, now you asked to push the building as far forward as we can do it. Are you telling me that I can't put any parking spaces on the front of that building between it? You are telling me that?
Correct. Yeah, we're looking for parking along the side and not in the front.
It's going to be difficult.
Well, see what you can do with the restrictions of the storm water and the elevations, and see what you can do. If you can't do it, you can't do it, but do your best.
What's going to happen is, in order to do that, the building's obviously going to be, it's going to slide to the north, probably as far as I can get it, in order to get the parking, the drive aisle, the detention facility all on the south side of the building. The building's going to have to be right up against that setback on the north side. I just want to make sure that you don't think the neighbor's going to have any issues with that. I figured the further we could stay away from them, the better it would be for them. But it sounds like you guys are wanting me to push it over that way and bring it forward as far as I can. Am I correct there?
Board members?
Yeah, I think one of the reasons for the reverse frontage is to try to fit in with the existing neighborhoods there.
Yes, ma'am. So you're looking for the main street theme is what I've heard it called in the past. Basically the old idea where the buildings are up in the front, the parking's in the back. That's what you're looking for.
If possible, if feasible.
Larry,
I will work out some sketch plans and see what we can come up with. Who's the best person to, in between now and the next meeting, to send a couple of these ideas to as we work through them, to see if it's something that is acceptable, or if it's something that, no, you need to go back and start again? Is there someone there at the town that I can send that to and kind of work through this process?
That would be CJ.
DJ, okay.
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah, they'll be happy to circulate that to the board. Yeah.
Great. Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure. I figured it was CJ, but I wanted to just confirm.
No worries.
Okay. So where we stand right now is no action tonight. You want me to redo the architecture? You want me to change the location of the entrance into the building? You want me to change the location of the building on the site? You want me to add landscaping? I guess I'm just starting over, it sounds like.
Well,
I'm afraid so.
Well, I think,
you're listening, Bob, so that's a good start.
Bob, we did bring this up at the last couple meetings, though.
No, I understand. And I have heard that, and we have been working trying to get that done. The problem that I'm having, obviously, is that with that detention facility.
Right.
It's just going to cause headaches for me.
Okay. So
and obviously the retailer does not like moving parking out of the front of the building. That's going to be a major fight as well. But that's with a different board than you, so I'll just need to go back and fight with them.
all right, Bob, do your best to see if you can fit that in and see if it's feasible, and then we can talk next time.
Okay, sounds great.
Any other comments, board members?
we have had detention under things before.
You're talking about tripling the price now, and you're running me right out of the game. Whenever you start doing that, whenever I have done that in the past where I've had to put detention under the parking lot, and honestly, the budgets won't support it here.
Yeah.
And I've got plenty of land. I've got 2 acres, so there's no reason actually to go underground. But
Well, thank you.
I will do everything I can to see if I can get this worked out to the satisfaction of the board.
So,
Okay.
Bob,
The grade up there, we recognize that the grade is very, very slight, and you might have a little extra wiggle room to actually change the direction of the flow, sculpting the drainage towards the rear.
Push it toward the back. Yes.
Yeah.
We've looked at that as well. But
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate you saying that. But one other thing I wanted to mention is we do have the conference call with the what are you guys calling it? The BEA panel or board consultants. That call is tomorrow at 3 o'clock. So we are going through that process, starting it. My architect, engineer, a couple folks from my office, and then everyone on that of the BEA side of the table will be on the call. So we'll go through that process and see what kind of suggestions they have. I'm very curious to see if they've got any suggestions that we're not doing. These are very, very energy efficient buildings, and we actually are forced to do that. Even if we didn't want to, we're forced to by the retailer. So they are very energy efficient before we even start. But we'll certainly listen to them and see what kind of ideas and concepts they have and see if anything will work for us. But just so you know, everything, all lighting, interior and exterior on these buildings are all LEDs.
Yeah.
We do have to meet the energy code regarding the envelope of the building. So I hope that I'm already there. I hope that I've already done everything that the BEA is going to suggest. But like I say, the meeting is tomorrow, so we'll go through that and see where we're at.
Bob, quick question. Do you use heat pumps?
These on this building, no, I don't believe they are.
You can use
I'll have to
propane
confirm
then?
that. I'm sorry?
You're gonna use propane then?
Yes.
Okay.
Tom, you're muted if you want to talk.
Tom? Tom, did you have anything?
You're muted, Tom, if you want to talk.
Okay, I think that the county is going to prefer heat pumps.
Yeah, that was my subtle little suggestion.
Mhm.
Understood. Typically, I believe they're just package units. They're rooftop package units. But we'll listen to what they say. If it's something that we can do, we'll certainly do it and run through and try to make this building as efficient as we can.
Okay, Bob, thank you for being receptive to our concerns. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Hopefully we can get all this accomplished, and then we can, once we meet again at the next month's meeting, we can move on to a public hearing or push this to the county review 239, I believe it is. I know that tomorrow is part of that, but
That's right.
yes, anxious to get to the next step.
So
Very good.
last comment for me,
Yes, sir.
Sandy mentioned she liked the color palette and the stone, or something that was contrasting. I'd say it didn't look like it was in scale. It looked like the stone or whatever was at the bottom of the elevations was too short. Should be taller.
I believe that the stone that's shown there is a 3-foot wainscot. That can obviously be moved up. If we need to do more of it with the stone, that's not that big of an issue.
Well, we'll be
One other
interested to see what your new elevations look like.
Okay.
One other thing, Bob, how about the signage? You've gone over that with our sign law?
32 square feet.
Okay, so
Fine.
you're good on that side.
Yes,
Okay.
sir. We are.
And
We
so
have-
may I just
Go ahead.
may I just add about the materials, if we could just get a cut sheet along with the elevations that have the materials, because we can't really pass the samples around anymore. So if we could just have that.
Do you want that prior to the full submittal that we make?
That could be part of it.
Okay, because for the meeting, what I'm planning to do is a revised site plan, a colored one, so it's real obvious what we're doing, and it's more clear to the board members, along with a couple, hopefully just one colored rendering for the elevations for the next meeting. And once we get the thumbs up, then we'll work on the full submittal and get that.
Okay.
Get that into.
I was just thinking
Jeff.
to just help them understand the materials, that what the materials will look like, and just a little bit of background about the materials.
Understood. Okay, yeah.
Larry, real quick.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that he was clear on the dark sky compliance thing, the maximum 3,000 degree Kelvin. Okay, super.
Yes, we made it.
Wouldn't want that to be a surprise next week or
Yes,
next
sir.
month.
Just for the board's information, we are Dollar General's largest developer. We build close to 100 of these a year in 39 states. We just recently opened our 748th store for them. So we're fairly versed with the requirements around the country, including in your state. So I don't think, and I hope not at this stage of the game, that we have any surprises. But,
Right.
you never know. You learn every day.
So Bob, you've probably come across other communities who would like the outside to be dressed up a little more. So you're
Yes.
not,
Yes, sir.
you know what we're leading up to. So.
I
Okay.
do,
Okay.
and I'm just trying to short that process as much as I can.
Sure, I understand. Okay.
All right.
I think
well,
it's
thank you
set.
very much.
Okay, thank you, Bob.
Thank you. Take care.
Yep.
See you next month.
Okay. All right, CJ, where are we at next?
Okay, just believe we're on to planning reports. Is there any questions, or are there any questions, I should say, about the planning report for last month?
CJ,
Yes.
thank you for the additional stuff that you passed on that. I was curious, wanted to see how things were going with regard to slowdowns because of COVID or what have you.
Not in this department.
Oh, good.
So, yeah, and I just want to give a big shout out to you guys too for being so willing to, move all of our operations to Zoom. I mean, we barely missed a beat, and it's to your credit that we've been able to do that. So
CJ,
thank
y'all
you.
may have a hard time getting us back in the town hall.
Totally.
Get get this taken care of. I'll get something put on it.
The crowds are friendlier on Zoom.
Not after the training we had. We're good.
Yes, and thank you all for attending the training with Mark Schachner as well. Hopefully you found that interesting, if not entertaining. Just a few quick updates, and I think Doug may have covered this. The Highway Department renovation project initial feasibility study agreement was passed. And so Bergman Associates out of Rochester is going to be doing essentially a couple conceptual site layouts. So we'll make sure we keep the board updated on that as well. Not that necessarily the building would be subject to site plan review, of course, but if there was any helpful additions or thoughts that the board had on the process, I think that would be most welcome. Town Barn Road extension hopefully will go to the planning or the town board next month to be able to actually formalize the end of that road to advance the application for the wildlife resolution site plan, which you looked at last month. We did make comments to the Office of Renewable Energy siting, which hopefully you saw, and I sent you a bunch of other comments too, so you could kind of get a flavor of what others were thinking. And that does kind of lead me to just a final point. I have asked Guy Crow, attorney for the town, to attend our next working meeting on January 11th so that we can talk about some of the finer points. He really went through those regulations in detail. And one of the concerns I have is that the Office of Renewable Energy siting has been, I would say, they probably received a ton of comments, is my guess. And I think they may issue another round of draft regulations. And so I'm wondering if we might just kind of watch what they're up to for a little bit and kind of tailor, the town's response to that. And I'd also like you to just have a hint from a policy perspective of a kind of how, the kind of the legal landscape of how this could all play out. I mean, as you all know, any kind of what I would consider to be something of an assault on municipal home rule, it will be really interesting to see how that plays out. So we want to make sure that the town is in a really good negotiating position for some of the things like, I think somebody recently mentioned like intervenor funds and local agency accounts. I think we'd be in good shape with our existing local law, but I want to make sure that we really have, as much oomph as we can for things like decommissioning. I've heard from a few planning board members that was key to them. So I just want to make sure that if we go through the effort of amending the local law, that we aren't then turning around and Office of Renewable Energy siting went and issued like a whole new set of regulations that we'd be reacting to. So I just want to conserve your time and energy going into 2021 too, because we're going to see, my guess, the first of these applications coming in, the beginning of the second quarter. And when I say we, I mean the Office of Renewable Energy siting is going to see them. They're not coming to the town as far as I know, but we want to pay attention to them and be ready to respond. So that's kind of what my thinking was on that. And so I've asked Guy to attend that next working meeting so we can finish up the audit and talk about some of those, more nuanced policy issues as well. And I think that's it, unless there's any questions. And I see that Mike Sigler did pop back up again. If you'd like to.
I just have a quick question. When is the county going to decide on the short-term rental proposals? for the monitoring.
Monitoring.
Okay. Yes, I can't say
Yes,
that
on the
word.
analytics and monitoring.
Yes, yes,
No worries.
that.
Exactly. They received, so they received the 4 submittals. I sent the top 3 contenders on to the subcommittee here. And I did forward the comments on to the county, and I believe they're going to interview the top 2 candidates. But I haven't heard when that's going to be scheduled. So I will certainly fill you in the moment I hear something from them. I'm guessing they might just be on holiday.
Yeah, and I was thinking beginning of the new year.
Yeah, I'll certainly let you, the subcommittee know for sure when I hear back.
Okay.
And CJ, any noise on any projects coming up that you've heard in the future here in the spring, summer?
Well, I would, yeah, that's a good question. I've heard, not substantiated by anything, concrete, but my understanding is there's some interest in redeveloping the pit stop property, the former property. But you guys probably have heard that like maybe 50 times before, so I don't know.
That would be awesome if they did.
Okay, yeah, that's my understanding, but obviously, until an application is received, I assume it's all hearsay. Rochester's Cornerstone Group is currently doing a geotechnical investigation over at Lansing Town Center. Apparently they ran into a bunch of rocks last time, so I think they're planning to not do that this time. So I'm not aware of the results of that study yet. I know that they were granted access to Town Center to do the investigation, but we'll see. And then Lansing Residential Center, I'm guessing the state is going to think about putting it up for auction, but we have talked to them about possibly taking over the gymnasium area and some of the fields at the request of the Parks and Recreation Director, as he has long wished for a gymnasium to be able to host additional activities. So we'll see kind of where that goes.
CJ,
But yeah, nothing besides that.
2 questions. One is on that. Are we looking into the state not just auctioning, but potentially, are there any cleanup funds for all the wonderful asbestos and other stuff that Larry keeps talking about?
Thank you.
Don't get a gift at East.
Yeah. And then the other is on Cornerstone. We were talking a month and a half ago about crime and trying to get a bead and report and getting their management to respond. And I haven't heard an update on that.
Yeah, and Guy will be able to address that at the meeting on the 11th
Okay.
as well.
Great. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, of course, absolutely.
Also related to Milton, we were looking for some statistical information. They had promised us some data on number of students, how many of the occupants were from the town of Lansing, how many were from Tompkins County, and how many from outside the area. I mean, I understand some of the data is going to be confidential, but they had promised us initially some statistical data on occupancy. If we could, next time, they're in the office, if maybe you mention that to them.
We could certainly ask them to come before the board and just give a report, perhaps at the next meeting.
Members, what do you think?
Sure.
Yeah.
It'd be good if they could send their report ahead of time.
The information.
What was that, Larry?
Well, I they should recognize that.
Yeah, you're
getting
cutting
the
out.
information from
Break
them,
Now we can't
if
hear
I'm
you.
up with information that might make it easier for.
Why don't you type it in the chat, Larry?
Oh,
Thank you, froze again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I wouldn't want to, I guess I wouldn't want them to come in and then us laying it out, what, the problems there. And I guess I don't want to, what do you want to call it? don't know what to call it, but I don't want them to come in and then we are just dumping things on them. I mean, that's not fair to them either.
No,
Okay, well,
I think
Blindsiding them. I don't want to
I-
blindside them.
coming in is we're interested in some data on the occupancy, vacancy, and where the tenants came from for future planning purposes, I think was the intention initially.
Right, but we're also interested in knowing how they are managing the place.
Right, but I think that's a question that maybe Guy's gonna have to handle rather than planning board, town board type of thing, possibly. Doug, what do you think?
I don't know. I mean, honestly, I haven't heard too much about problems there. But I don't hear a lot of things. So I guess I just don't know.
They should know their situation.
I've heard a lot
better
about
than
it.
us. Yeah, they should know their situation better than us, and they
Right.
should easily be prepared to respond to what the situation is and how they're trying to mitigate things.
We can also check with the sheriff's office, I would presume.
Yeah, I thought we were gonna try and get a report from the sheriff's office on that. Is that possible?
Yeah, I was going to ask, but then CJ said someone else should ask, not me.
Yeah, I've asked Guy about that, and so I'd like him to attend. But we'll address that at the meeting on the 11th.
Okay. All right, anything else, board members? CJ?
I do have, Mike did re-enter. I know it's not privilege of the floor, but
Sure.
if the board likes, hold on just a moment. Not sure if he's here to say anything else, or maybe he was just watching. But... Oh, and Larry's back. Okay, maybe Mike was just in the waiting room and there wasn't anything that he was looking to say. So,
Okay, motion to adjourn.
Okay,
Okay.
So moved.
okay. Good night. Thank you, Doug.
Happy
holidays,
holidays.
everybody.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Happy holiday.
Larry, CJ.
Happy
Dean.
solstice.
yeah.
There you go.
Happy
Yay.
Hey, tomorrow's
I'll bail you out if you get in trouble, okay?
days are getting longer from now on.
Yeah,
Well,
1 second.
That's good news. That's good
All
news.
right.
That is good news.
Yeah, it is good.
Okay, good night all. Thank you.
everyone.
Yeah.